Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have Kaylee Felio and the PartsEdge panel with us. Gentlemen, and Kaylee, welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
Ted, we've got quite the group here with us today.
Sarah, we do, and we have an exciting topic, and it's very, very important for the industry to hear. Very quickly, before we start, I'd like to ask everyone to introduce themselves, starting with Mike Weldon, and then we'll go around to Scott and Don and back to Kaylee. So, Mike, if you don't mind, do the honors.
Thank you, Mike Weldon. Of course, I'm recently retired with the Hansel Auto Group. Been in the automotive business for a number of years. We won't count because I've lost fingers and toes. But I am currently a coach for CPI, or Center for Performance Improvement, and working with dealers, improving the retention and bottom line net.
Love it. Scott?
My name's Scott Rutherford. I'm with Mike Maroney Auto Group. I work out of the Mike Maroney Chevrolet North in Colorado Springs and Volkswagen, and also mentor some of the other parts managers in the group.
Great organization. Scott, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and thank you as well for being here.
Don Andres, owner-president of Auto SCT Consulting and Training. That is my transition company after retiring from the automotive business for working for many, many years. And so I'm excited to be on the panel again. Thank you, Kaylee. And it's exciting to see what 2026 is going to bring us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Don. And Kaylee, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and what PartsEdge does for the dealers in our industry.
Oh, yeah. So I'm the sales and marketing for PartsEdge, and we work closely with parts managers and parts departments to make sure they're maximizing the profit and turning the inventory and making sure that, that asset is being managed properly. So that's what we do.
Wonderful. And I thought with everybody on here, very appropriate topic, Kaylee. If you don't mind, maybe kick us off and get us started, and we'll see where it takes us.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about so many things when it comes to parts, I feel like, but this is we haven't touched on this too much. And considering the crowd we have, I feel like this is a great topic to cover. And what we're seeing at PartsEdge is, all the newer parts managers coming in, retiring parts managers, and just planning for that and just going through that. And I believe Mike, you've gone through this, and then Scott, you are in the process of going through this. So just want to talk about just kind of how to set that up. What challenges can you guys see? And let's start with that.
Mike, you okay to start us off?
More than happy to. And then Scott, you just chime in as we go along.
Okay.
And I will not try to date ourselves.
I tried not to. I was trying to be nice.
No, and really, age is just a number. If you have a desire and you love this business, you're always going to stay connected in one way or another. But some of the challenges we've had, not only in parts but in service and with technicians, is transitioning people. We've gotten to the point that the business is changing. Therefore, the look of the business is changing because the personnel is changing. And what we need to do differently than what we're currently doing is to set these companies up, or our company up, for the next generation to come in, giving them the right tools. And unfortunately, the talent's limited out there. There's not a lot of expertise, and we need to put mechanisms in place or help these people as they transition in to build the business, because it's not getting any easier. It's getting more complex with the type of vehicles that are being manufactured, the on-time parts initiatives that are out there. So I think this discussion should be about that, and some of the trials and tribulations, what we can do to help each other to move that forward, to help these dealerships survive.
Well, and I like how you pointed out that it's only getting harder, because I think there's a misconception that happens sometimes with the manufacturer programs and the auto stock replenishment, where the dealer or upper management just thinks that that's, just trust that system, which I think, Scott, you can kind of speak to that a little bit of, it is getting harder to stock the right parts and manage those programs because they don't just do it for you.
Yeah, I would say I spend more time now with inventory, purchasing, returns, working the manufacturer program than I ever have. The manufacturers, whoever it is, if it's Ford, General Motors, or whoever has their program, went to all the dealers and said, hey, you're going to be able to put this in place, and now your parts manager is going to have all kinds of time to do other stuff like marketing, et cetera. And I really disagree with that. If you're working the program to the best of your ability, you will spend a lot of time on it. The manufacturer it helps, but you can get in a lot of trouble by just saying, okay, and just running with it too. So on that subject, yeah, it's not quite as easy as they made it sound.
Yeah, I can see that. That happens a lot. And it does, like, to your point, it does help make things a little bit easier, but you have to work it. You have to work the system.
Right. Yeah, you can't, so we have a holiday coming up, or great example was the strike. And so what do you do to get more parts on hand if there's a strike, if there's a weather delay? I mean, I'm in Colorado, so we absolutely could get a weather problem and be out of parts for, very quickly because of the amount of stock that we have on hand will run out quickly now. And so you can't just go into your computer and say, I want 10 more days supply. I want 3 more months supply, whatever it is. You have to manually go in and change each part number to say, I need this much of that part number, and then go to the next part number, and you just keep working. So, and with back orders right now, with supplier issues, et cetera, it's been tough. It's been, like I said, it's been a fair amount of work, but honestly, inventory is my favorite thing. I love doing, what should we have? What should we don't have? What do we not need anymore? I don't have any favorite parts. If they aren't selling, they aren't earning their place, they're not paying the rent. And so I have no problem going, that one's going in the trash can. It's not taking care of it anymore.
That's the right mindset to have. Don, did you want to chime in on any of that?
Well, I think Mike brings up a unbelievably big point, in the sense that it is not uncommon that you see a parts manager that's retiring that starts to maybe work with one of their counter people to transition them into this management role. Mm-hmm. But that's challenging, because on any given day, that counter person is just busy. They're just doing what they do. And so with all the best intentions in the world, the truth is that doesn't always happen. And now suddenly there's a big party, there's a big send-off and retirement, and suddenly the new guy or gal gets overwhelmed, because it turns out all the things that parts manager made look easy is really important. Really important. In fact, you bring up a great point. It's not uncommon when you have some anticipated crisis that you spin up your inventory a little bit. Well, guess what? 2 months in, 3 months in, you've got to actually dial that back down again, don't you? You've got to go back into the same numbers, dial them back down again. And so for Michael and I, we get into stores that we're evaluating fixed operations. We're evaluating productivity and things of that nature. If there's an area that we're consistently finding is that the old regime retired, moved out, the new came in, and didn't respect how important it is to monitor that inventory, how important it is to understand those returns actually need to be returned, and everything that goes into that. So we end up with stores with a unbelievably chaotic parts department, where the counter people, as well as the technicians, are not trusting inventory levels. What's on the shelf and on the books are the same. And so there's a lot of anxiety. So these are little things that slow down productivity in a big way, all because that transition doesn't go as well, isn't as intense, isn't as focused as it could or should be when we see people exit and then new people getting promoted. Kaylee, I think this is where your company becomes such a powerful asset and such a great partner, because those daily routines, those daily reports that are getting in front of that new parts manager are constantly exposing, hey, there's some things you got to work on. Hey, there's some things you've got to do that. And of course, their comfort zone is what? It's working that counter still and answering those phones, when in fact they have to transition to that very important leadership role. So this is a great subject. I see it go bad in my store visits.
I'm curious, Scott, what have you seen to be successful? Because it sounds like you've mentored a few, and you guys are adding stores. Like, what's a successful process for you, and how do you still manage your store and help the ones that are, up and coming?
Yeah, we have what I'd call a really great program with this company. They're always training the next manager, training the next guy up. I've been in this for a while now, and most of the time the parts manager becomes manager because the last one got caught drinking. The last one did something really stupid and got fired. And hey, guess what? You're the parts manager now. So zero training. And the discussion was, you'll learn this job by the seat of your pants. That's the only way you're going to learn it. And, including myself, that's kind of how we got trained.
Yeah.
But we don't have to do that anymore. We've got programs like NADA and NCM, and we use those in this organization. And I've been here about 7 years now, 8 years. And I remember when I started, they were like, okay, be watching for your replacement, because, you're going to need to have somebody follow in your shoes. And so that is something that, like I said, we do training on it. I do, we purchased a couple of stores 2 years ago, 1 year ago. And the parts manager had been there forever, and it was a family store, and okay, it's not going to be a family store anymore. So I'm going to leave. Today will be my last day. And so then we take somebody from one of our other stores who we've had in the training and who we have started to say, okay, this guy looks to be the next one up when we get an opportunity for him. And we put him in that place. And then I went down with him. We open the store together. We do an inventory together. We get them started as to, here's some ways, here's the problems I see that we've got. Here's how we can work on that. And Kaylee, I'm not just going to brag about PartsEdge, but it is such a tool for us. And especially in a situation like this, where you can say, hey, we've got a problem here with obsolescence, overage, over inventory. And I believe one of you brought it up that we kind of get, I don't trust the system. I don't think it's got enough parts on hand. I'm going to bump that up on that, and which is probably the wrong thing to do. Yes, it was a hot mover at one time, but it has definitely slowed down, and I don't need that much on hand anymore. So I've kind of moved into a mentor role in the past few years, where if Mike buys the store and, we've got a young or less experienced maybe manager in it, my phone's always open. I've got a couple of them that call me, not daily, but for sure every week. And we discuss stuff. And if I don't hear from them, then I call them. and we compare, how's your dealership going here? What can we do for a warranty parts markup? What can we do for, gross profit in the customer pay area? What are you doing here as far as, it's one thing to be manager and just run day to day, but I'm not going to say anybody can do it, but what can you do that makes your job more valuable than, just doing a day-to-day job? Where can you get the extra discounts? Where can you make a purchase that'll, make you money on the backside as well as when you sell it? So I would say the last couple of years have been more fun for me than a lot of the other ones before that.
And Scott, if you don't mind, in the green room, we were talking a little bit about you working for Mike Maroney in the organization. He's been on the show many times. And I remember him telling Sarah and myself that his father originally started off as the dealer in Buffalo, New York. And at some point along came the knowledge transfer, and then Mike became the dealer, probably the biggest dealer, right, in the country for many years. And now Mike is doing the knowledge transfer with his children. So he believes in that mentorship. And I think you've got a great advantage there in being able to carry that through, because the dealer knows firsthand how important that is. And Scott, not every organization has that same mindset or that same vision, if you will.
Absolutely. You're correct. And most of them, if you do this job well and it looks easy, then they think it is easy. And I've had many dealers tell me that. It's like, well, you make it look easy. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? If you're doing it right and you have processes in place and you do what you're supposed to be doing every day, yeah, it goes well. But it's not necessarily easy. And I appreciate what Mike does. Like you said, the knowledge transfer, that doesn't just go for my department or me. That's across the board. I mean, it's all looking at, okay, who are you going to train to take over? What happens if something happens to you? I mean, he's thinking that way all the time, that we want to have the best people, the best organization, and we want people to want to work here. And I, for one, am very happy working here.
And Sarah, that's a trait that we have seen at some of the best dealers around the country, you and I.
It is, Ted, and I love the phrase knowledge transfer. And as we're talking about this, there's so many thoughts that come to mind, as these transitions happen. And Mike, Don, you were talking a little bit about some of those potential pitfalls, when things happen. But on the first side, like the front loading side of it, there is an ever evolving parts, role in our industry. We're seeing so many different things that parts managers are ultimately responsible for in our businesses. So what does the future parts manager need to have skill wise in order to be successful? And, Mike, coming to you first.
Well, this whole conversation kind of brings back a ton of memories. I grew up in the automotive business. So when I was born, I was in the automotive business. That's just the way it was. I didn't appreciate it, though, until I got older. But and then I understood what my father was trying to do for me. And it's what Mike does in Scott's company is setting up for that transition and building the next leader. And so many companies need to transition that way that, struggle doing that. And a good manager really is not afraid of somebody being just as good, if not better, because you surround yourself with good people so that if anything happens, you can make that adjustment. Scott made a reference that they had this mentorship program and then they pulled from another store when somebody left. And I think every company needs to set itself up and then having the supporting mechanism, because my preference when we brought PartsEdge in many eons ago, it was to free up the manager to work on the business, not work in the business. And Scott, I think you can support this, is that so many times we get stuck in the day-to-day grind that we can't see how to grow our business. And free the manager up, giving them that freedom to expand their growth is so important today.
I agree.
And sir, I don't know if I was right on topic, but these guys have got me thinking. I'm sitting here, and that is, I just wanted to emphasize how important that is.
Yeah, Don.
Sarah, I think the 2026. We're already seeing a month in, we're already seeing some headwinds, right? We're already seeing the fact that variable is going to continue to be challenged for a while. And we're seeing all these dealers now look to fixed operations and efficiency. So not only do we want to make sure that inventory level doesn't have anything dead hanging out there, anything aged that could be freeing us some cash, but more importantly, this efficiency to be able to get these parts in a technician's hand in a timely manner. What are those strategies, not only for inventory levels, but then also for just being able to pick things up locally, to be able to do all the things that keep productivity going, because in 2026, fixed operations appears to be on the top of everybody's mind when it comes to dealers, when it comes to owners, and certainly these larger groups, right? That focus. So 2026, having that parts department firmed up, clean, and just a well-oiled machine will allow us to be more creative, which I think Scott was saying is the real fun of the job, is to start to be creative with profit margins, start to be creative in ways to market yourself through the internet and things of that nature. So yeah, we're in for a fun year. I think there'll be lots of conversations surrounding parts and fixed operations.
Kaylee, what a great talent pool is to hear everyone speaking here.
Yeah, I'm glad we had this conversation. Thank you, Mike, for pointing that out. And yeah, everyone made such great points. I think one thing I wrote down was just reminding everyone and listening. I think everyone knows this, but we're so past the days of just throwing the parts manager in the role. That's one of the largest assets that they're managing, and having leaders like Scott, all of these leaders here to work and partner together. And I love how, Scott, like, your face lit up when you were talking about being creative and working with the managers. And I think that's the fun part, and what parts managers really love is the inventory and how can they really be really efficient and make a lot of profit off of it. And you really have to work at it. It doesn't just happen. So that's where I'm going to land the plane with what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Kaylee, give us a little insight. It's still only a month in, as Don mentioned, in 2026. And give us some insight into some of the things that PartsEdge can help dealers with in 2026, because fixed ops is at the top of the list, and parts is at the top of the list, it seems. Great tribute to you as well in helping us get there.
Thanks. Yeah, I think, we really stay in our lane on focusing on parts and making that the most efficient for parts managers. So I wouldn't say there's anything crazy or new happening. We're just going to continue doing what we do really well, and that's setting up the DMS and making sure that we're maintaining that for the parts manager. We are looking at getting better with reporting. Our reports are pretty straightforward and clean, but having just a portal that displays all of that information clean and more efficiently, that's really what we're focused on. But yeah, just continues what we're doing, because thankfully, Chuck and Cliff saw the opportunity 30 years ago and stuck with it, and here we are working with hundreds of dealerships, and I'm so thankful that I get to be part of it for the last 10 years, and it's really exciting to see that growth. So.
And Mike Weldon, I thought you put it well a little bit earlier. You mentioned that PartsEdge really helps. I'm going to paraphrase. I'm going to ask you to say it again. Did you say not on the business or in the business? Give us that phrase again, if you don't mind, Mike.
Well, rather than work in the business, work on the business.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And put some emphasis on it. Our industry is $1 trillion business. That's independents and dealers combined. Wow. Dealers, however, only retain about 20% of that total business. Whereas if we expanded our knowledge, expanded our presence, we can capture additional business and build relationships and bring those people back in. That's going to benefit the companies. Parts is the second largest expense or investment that a dealer has, period. And so many ownerships do not have the expertise. In fact, they are scared to go back into the parts department. Scott, you probably have seen that. And because
that's so true. I have seen that. Don't cross that line.
And then when they find out that, I had one store that when the manager retired, their obsolescence was over $400,000.
Yeah.
And some of it was sitting on the floor since 1996. And the dealer says, how did that happen? Well, unfortunately, we need you to be involved in parts, the parts side of the house, because that is a big investment for you. So we're teaching them now.
Kaylee, that is important, getting the dealer involved and to have them recognize that. Mike's right. Second biggest investment. I know you've pointed it out many times before. If they looked after that investment like they do some of the other, particularly used car investments they have, it would be a whole game changer for the industry.
It would be.
Yeah. All right. Everybody, if you want to get more information on PartsEdge, Kaylee Felio is the sales and marketing manager. PartsEdge.com. You see her email scrolling at the bottom of the screen. She is extremely active on social media. Kaylee, I'm going to ask you to bring us up to speed. I know you have a podcast. You've had more than one podcast. Tell us what we should be looking for in 2026 on social.
Yes. So we have the one podcast, just changed it to PartsEdge. It's easier to find, and just, interviewing leaders and talking about just the industry as a whole. And then we also have a special series that highlights very much more of like, parts, what you should have your day supply, those types of conversations where we talk, because there's just not a whole lot out there. And then we do monthly webinars as well. So that's been pretty helpful from the feedback I've heard. So busy. It's all on our website too. So you can find everything there.
Everybody, 2026, Parts is at the top. Kaylee Felio at PartsEdge.com. I want to thank the panel, Mike Weldon, for being with us today. Scott Rutherford, welcome, and very refreshing to hear your take on the industry. So welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Hope you come back for many, many more. Don Andres, as always, thank you for all you do. Great voice in our industry. And of course, Kaylee Felio at PartsEdge. Sarah, another wonderful panel.
Another great panel, Ted. And this topic is going to continue to be more and more important in the year ahead.
All right. Everybody, Kaylee Felio can be reached at partsedge.com. Email scrolling at the bottom of the screen. The PartsEdge panel here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.